I missed Song of Songs yesterday when I saw it, but I never read Daniel, so I'm sure that'll be a good reading.
Oh yeah, and apparently the books of Daniel aren't in the right order, so I'm gonna read them. This is me my first time reading it like this, but Devanya pointed it out that the time period is kind of mixed up. So I'm gonna do 1 through 4, 7 and 8, then 5, 10, 12, and 9, and then 11. Because the kings are kind of mixed up. It'll jump time periods. So I'm gonna see how it reads according to that.
Is it before Samuel or no? It's after Samuel. It's after
Should
Psalms.
be after Samuel.
Oh, I see it. I see it. After Ezekiel for me in the KJV version.
Yeah, mine and yours is kind of different order for certain parts. But after this, we just got Ezra and Nehemiah left, and then the Chronicles, and then we're done.
Well, we can always repeat it, if you want. Just a
But
little
yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah, Menelik wants to start a new Torah portion, so we're gonna jump right back into it.
Um, I hope Devaniah, sorry, joins us. I like when she gives her insight.
Yeah, she hasn't been in here for a while. I don't know what happened to her. Probably been like 3 weeks since she came in one of these rooms, but I don't know. Cause she knows a lot of the language and she's been studying it a lot longer, so she has some things that she's pointing out a lot of things that I'd never thought of before. So kind of missing out with her not coming in, but it's whatever. Maybe she'll come in on the next round.
Yeah. Um, oh, this is Daughters of this the beginning of the chapter reminds me of a song called Bye Bye Babylon. It's by Elevation Worship.
So my
It
dad,
says it says Daughters of Zion, weep no more. Pack your bags, we're going home. Shake off your captivity. Today's the day you shall be free.
true, true. Says by who?
Elevation Worship.
I'll check it.
I don't mean to promote them, but that's the song I like by them.
Oh, that's all good. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna wait too long.
Oh,
Yeah,
is this the book where he interprets dreams?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, he interprets dream for the what's it called, the king, or was it Nebuchadnezzar, and also an angel gives him an interpretation of the 70 years and a dream that he has, so on and so forth. Yeah, and it's also one of the prophecies that hasn't been fulfilled. It probably is one of the last ones that says the saints will take the kingdom. The the kingdom will be given into the hands of the saints of the Most High. So yeah, that's in I think that was 12, right? Or was it 9? One of them. But yeah, we can. I'm not gonna wait too long because a lot of people fell off of the readings. So sometimes I'll be reading by myself. I'm just like whatever. I just want to get through it. So yeah, we're gonna start 1 through 4, 7, 8, 5, 10, 12, 9, and 11. See how that order works out. All right. Daniel 1. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylonia, came to Jerusalem and laid siege to it. The Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with some of the vessels of the temple of Elohim. He brought them to the land of Shinar, to the temple of his God, and the vessels he brought into the treasure house of his God. The king told Ashpenaz, the chief of his officers, to bring from the children of Yasharal, from the royal seed and from the nobles, youths in whom there was no blemish, who were good looking, skillful in all wisdom, discerning in knowledge, and perspective in learning, and who have the stamina to stand and serve in the king's palace, and to teach them the script and language of the Chaldeans. The king provided for them a daily portion from the king's food and from his drinking wine to nurture them for 3 years, at the conclusion of which they would stand and serve before the king. Among them were from the children of Judah Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief officer gave them names. To Daniel he gave the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. Daniel set the resolve in his heart to not be defiled by the king's food, nor by his drinking wine. So he requested of the chief officer that he not be defiled. Elohim granted Daniel favor and mercy before the chief officer, and the chief officer said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has provided your food and your drinks, lest you see your faces more ill at ease than the other youths in your situation, and you will forfeit my head to the king. So Daniel said to the steward, whom the chief officer had assigned to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days, and let them give us of the posts, and we will eat, and give us water, and we will drink. Then let our appearance and the appearance of the youths who eat the king's food be seen by you, and act towards your servants in accordance with what you see. He heeded them in this matter, and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, their appearance seemed better, and they were of healthier flesh than all the youths eating the king's food, probably eating pork. Thereafter, the steward would take away their food and their drinking wine and give them posts. As for these youths, the four of them, Elohim gave them learning and skill in every script and wisdom, and Daniel understood every kind of vision and dreams. At the end of the years after which the king had said to bring them, the chief officer was the chief officer brought them before Nebuchadnezzar. The king spoke with them, and there was not found among them all anyone like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they stood and served before the king. In every matter of the art of reasoning that the king asked of them, he found them 10 times better than all the necromancers and astrologers that were in his entire kingdom. Daniel was there until the first year of King Cyrus. Chapter 2. In the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Nebuchadnezzar dreamt dreams. His spirit was agitated and his sleep was interrupted. The king said to call the necromancers, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldean stargazers to tell the king his dreams. They came and stood before the king. The king said to them, I have dreamt a dream, and my spirit is agitated to know the dream. The Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic. May the king live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will relate the interpretation. The king responded and said to the Chaldeans, the thing has escaped me. If you do not make the dream and its interpretation known to me, you will be cut to bits, and your homes will be made a dunghill. But if you do tell the dream and its interpretation, you will receive from me gifts, rewards, and great honor. Just tell me the dream and its interpretation. They answered the second time and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will relate the interpretation. The king responded and said, I know for a certainty that you are buying time, because you have seen that the matter is firmly established by me, that if you do not make the dream known to me, your sentence is unequivocal. Thus you have arranged lying and corrupt words to speak before me, until the time changes. Just tell me the dream, and then I will know that you can relate its interpretation to me. The Chaldeans responded before the king and said, there is no man on earth who can relate the king's matter. That is why no king, leader, or ruler has ever requested such a thing of any necromancer or astrologer or Chaldean. The king's request is difficult, and there is no other who can relate it before the king except the angels, whose dwelling is not with human beings. As a result of this, the king grew upset and very angry, and he commanded to destroy all the sages of Babylonia. As the decree was being implemented, and the wise men slain, Daniel and his companions were sought to be slain. Then Daniel gave counsel and advice to Arioch, the king's chief executioner, who had gone to slay the wise men of Babylonia. He exclaimed and said to Arioch, the king's official, why is the king's decree so peremptory? Then Arioch told Daniel the story. Daniel went and requested of the king that he give him time to relate the interpretation to the king. Then Daniel went to his house and made the matter known to his companions, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and to pray for mercy from before the Elohim of heaven concerning this secret, so that Daniel and his companions should not be destroyed with the rest of the sages of Babylonia. Then in a nocturnal vision, the secret was revealed to Daniel. Daniel then blessed the Elohim of heaven. Daniel exclaimed and said, may the name of Elohim be blessed forever and ever. For wisdom and might are his. He alters times and seasons. He deposes kings, and establishes kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who know how to reason. He reveals the deep and the mysterious. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. To you, O Elohim of my forefathers, I give thanks and praise. For you have given me wisdom and might, and now you have made known to me what we requested of you. For you have made known to us the matter of the king. Consequently, Daniel came to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the sages of Babylonia. He went and said thus to him, do not annihilate the wise men of Babylonia. Bring me before the king, and I will tell the interpretation to the king. Then Arioch brought Daniel before the king in haste, and thus said to him, I have found a man from the people of the exile of Judah who will make known the interpretation to the king. The king responded and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, are you capable of making known to me the dream that I saw in its interpretation? Daniel answered before the king and said, the secret the king requests, no wise men, astrologers, necromancers, or demonists are able to tell the king. But there is an Elohim in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has informed King Nebuchadnezzar what will be at the end of days. Your dream and the visions in your head on your bed are these. You, O king, your thoughts came while you were upon your bed about what would happen in the future, and the revealer of secrets informed you what will be. As for me, it is not because I possess more wisdom than any other being that this secret was revealed to me, but rather to make the interpretation known to the king, so that you may know what has occupied your thoughts. You, O king, were watching, and behold, a huge statue. This statue, which was immense, and whose brightness was extraordinary, stood opposite you, and its appearance was fearsome. This statue, its head of fine gold, its breasts and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of copper, its legs of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of earthenware. As you watched, a stone was hewn without hands, and struck the statue on its feet of iron and earthenware, and crumbled them. Then they crumbled together, the iron, the earthenware, the copper, the silver, and the gold. They became like chaff from summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, and no trace was found of them. And the stone that struck the statue became a great mountain and filled the entire earth. This is the dream, and we will tell its interpretation before the king. You, O king, to whom the King of Kings, who is the Elohim of heaven, has given a strong kingdom, power, and honor. And wherever people, beasts of the field, and birds of the sky dwell, he has given them into your hand and made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold. And after you will arise another kingdom inferior to you, and then another, a third kingdom, of copper, which will rule the whole earth. The fourth kingdom will be as strong as iron, just as iron crumbles and flattens everything. And as iron shatters all these, it will crumble and shatter. The feet and the toes that you saw, partly of potter's earthenware and partly of iron, it will be a divided kingdom, and will have some of the firmness of iron, just as you saw iron mixed with clay like earthenware. As for the toes, partly of iron and partly of earthenware, part of the kingdom will be powerful, and part of it will be broken. That you saw iron mixed with clay like earthenware, they will mix with the offspring of men, but they will not cling to one another, just as iron does not mix with earthenware. Then in the
Sorry,
days,
where are we?
we're in 343.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
I'm about to read 44. Actually, no, 244. My bad, 244. Then in the days of these kingdoms, the Elohim of heaven will establish a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will its sovereignty be left to another people. It will crumble and consume all these kingdoms, and it will stand forever. Just as you saw that a stone was hewn from the mountain, not by human hands, and it crumbled the iron, the copper, the earthenware, the silver, and the gold, so has the great Elohim made known to the king what will happen in the future. The dream is true and its interpretation is reliable. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and prostrated himself to Daniel, and with offering and incense he wished to exalt him. The king exclaimed to Daniel and said, in truth, I know that your Elohim is the Elohim over gods, Lord of kings and the revealer of secrets, since you were able to reveal this secret. Then the king promoted Daniel and gave him many great gifts. He empowered him as a ruler over the entire land of Babylon and chief official over all the sages of Babylonia. Daniel requested of the king, and he appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the land of Babylonia. And Daniel was at the king's gate. Chapter 3. King Nebuchadnezzar made a statue of gold, its height 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He stood it in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then King Nebuchadnezzar sent to assemble the satraps, the nobles, the governors, the judges, the treasurers, the advisors, the guards, and all the provincial officials to come to the dedication of the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Thereupon the rulers, the nobles, the governors, the judges, the treasurers, the advisors, the guards, and all the provincial officials gathered together for the dedication of the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood facing the statue that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. A herald cried aloud, "It is commanded to you, O peoples, nations, and languages, when you hear the sound of the horn, the whistle, the tambourine, the drum, the cymbals, the flute, and all kinds of music, you shall fall and prostrate yourself to the golden statue that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall and prostrate himself will immediately be thrown into a fiery burning furnace." Therefore, as soon as all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, the whistle, the tambourine, the drum, the cymbals, and all kinds of music, all the peoples, the nations, and the languages fell and prostrated themselves to the golden statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Thereupon, at that very time, some Chaldean men came forth and defamed the Jews. They exclaimed and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "May the king live forever. You, O king, issued a decree that every person who hears the sound of the horn, the whistle, the tambourine, the drum, the cymbals, the flute, and all kinds of music is to fall and prostrate himself to the golden statue. And whoever does not fall and prostrate himself is to be thrown into a fiery burning furnace. There are Jewish men whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men have not accepted your decree upon themselves. O king, your God, they do not worship, and to the golden statue you have set up, they do not prostrate themselves." Then King Nebuchadnezzar, in anger and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men were then brought before the king. Nebuchadnezzar exclaimed and said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not worship my God, and that you do not prostrate yourselves to the golden statue I have set up? Now behold, you must be prepared when you hear the sound of the horn, the whistle, the tambourine, the drum, the cymbals, the flute, and all kinds of music. So fall and prostrate yourselves to the statue I have made. But if you do not prostrate yourselves, you will immediately be thrown into a fiery burning furnace. And who is the God who can save you from my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego responded and said to the king, "Nebuchadnezzar, we are not worried about replying to you about this matter. Behold, our Elohim whom we worship is able to save us. He will rescue us from fiery burning furnace and from your hand, O king. But if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not worship your God, and to the golden statue that you have set up, we shall not prostrate ourselves." Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and the form of his face became contorted as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He exclaimed and commanded his men to heat the furnace to 7 times more than it was normally heated. Then he commanded the strong men of his guard to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to throw them into the fiery burning furnace. These 3 men were bound in their cloaks, their pants, their robes, and their other clothing, and were thrown into the fiery burning furnace. Thereupon, because of the king's peremptory command, and because the furnace was so overheated, those men who carried Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were killed by a flame of fire. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the fiery burning furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar, bewildered, stood up in haste. He exclaimed to his ministers and said, "Did we not throw 3 bound men into the fire?" They replied and said to the king, "True, O king." He exclaimed and said, "Behold, I see 4 unbound men walking in the fire, and there is no wound on them, and the appearance of the fourth one is like an angel's." Then Nebuchadnezzar approached the opening of the fire burning furnace. He exclaimed and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the supreme Elohim, step out and come here." Thereupon Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. The satraps, the nobles, the governors, and the ministers of the king assembled and saw these men over whose bodies the fire had no effect, the hair of whose heads was not singed, whose cloaks were unaltered, and who had not absorbed the smell of fire. Nebuchadnezzar exclaimed and said, Blessed is the Elohim of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and saved his servants, who relied on him and disobeyed the king's order, and offered their bodies in order to not worship or prostrate themselves to any god other than their Elohim. I issue a decree that any people, nation, or language who will speak amiss about the Elohim of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut to bits, and his house will be turned into a dunghill, and there is no other God able to rescue in this manner. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to the province of Babylonia. From King Nebuchadnezzar to all the peoples, nations, and languages that dwelt throughout the earth, may your peace be abundant. It behooves me to relate the signs and the wonders that the Supreme Elohim has performed for me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion for all generations. Chapter 4. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was tranquil in my house and vigorous in my palace. I saw a dream that frightened me, and my thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head bewildered me. I issued a command to bring before me all the sages of Babylonia, so that they should make known to me the interpretation of the dream. Then the necromancers, the astrologers, the Chaldean stargazers, and the demonists came. I related the dream before them, but they could not make known its interpretation to me. At last there came before me Daniel, whose name is Belteshazzar, after the name of my God, and in whom the spirit of the holy Elohim, and I related, in whom is the spirit of the holy Elohim, and I related the dream before him. Hold on. Belshazzar, chief of the necromancers, since I know that the spirit of the holy Elohim is in you, and no secret is hidden from you, this is the vision of the dream that I saw. Tell its interpretation. These were the visions of my head upon my bed. I was watching, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth. The height of it was great. The tree grew and became strong. Its height reached to the heavens. It was visible to the end of the entire earth. Its foliage was beautiful and its fruit plentiful, and there was food for all in it. Uh, under it, beasts of the field took shade, and the birds of heaven nested in its branches, and all flesh was fed from it. In the visions of my head upon my bed, I was watching, and behold, a holy angel came down from heaven. He cried out loudly and said thus, Chop down the tree and cut off its branches. Cast down its foliage and scatter its fruit. Let the animals move away from under it, and the birds from its branches. However, leave its major roots in the ground, secured with a band of iron and copper in the herbage of the field. Let it be washed by the dew of heaven, and let its lot be together with the beasts in the grass of the earth. They will change its heart from that of a man, and a beast's heart will be given to it, and 7 periods will pass over it. The matter is by decree of the angels, and the sentence is by word of the holy ones, so that all living beings may know that the Supreme One rules over the kingdom of man, giving it to whomever he wishes, and appointing the lowest of men over it. This dream I saw, I, King Nebuchadnezzar, and you, Belteshazzar, tell me its interpretation, because all the sages of my kingdom are unable to make the interpretation known to me. But you can, for the spirit of the holy Elohim is in you. These damn mosquitoes chew my ass up. Then Daniel, whose name is Belshazzar, was silent for a while, and his thoughts confounded him. The king exclaimed and said, Belshazzar, Let the dream and its interpretation not bewilder you. Belshazzar replied and said, My lord, may this dream be upon your foes and its interpretation upon your enemies. The tree that you saw, which grew and became strong, whose height reached the heavens and which was visible to the entire earth, whose foliage was beautiful and whose fruit plentiful, with food for all in it, under which dwelled the beasts of the field, and in whose branches nested the birds of the heaven. It is you, O king, who have grown and become powerful. Your greatness has grown and reached the sky, and your dominion to the end of the earth. And that which the king saw, a holy angel came down from heaven and said, Chop down the tree and destroy it, but leave its major roots in the ground, secured with a band of iron and copper in the herbage of the field. It will be washed by the dew of heaven, and its lot will be with the beasts of the field until 7 periods pass over it. This is the interpretation, O king. It is the decree of the supreme one that befalls my lord the king. They will drive you from mankind, and your dwelling will be among the beasts of the field. They will feed you grass like oxen, and wash you with the dew of heaven. And 7 periods will pass over you until you recognize that the supreme one rules over the kingdom of man, and he gives it to whomever he wishes. As to that which they said, to leave the major roots of the tree, your kingdom will remain for you, after you recognize that heaven rules. Nevertheless, O king, let my advice be acceptable to you. Redeem your sin through righteousness, and your iniquities through kindness to the poor. Perhaps there will be an extension to your tranquility. At this, all this befell King Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of the 12 months, he was walking atop the royal palace of Babylon. The king exclaimed and said, Is this not the great Babylon which I have built up into a royal house with my powerful strength for glorification of my splendor? Shit, issue. While the words were still in the king's mouth, a voice fell from heaven. To you, King Nebuchadnezzar, we say, the kingdom has departed from you. We are driving you from mankind, and your dwelling will be with the beasts of the field. They will feed you grass like oxen, and 7 periods will pass over you until you recognize that the Supreme One rules over the kingdom of man, and he gives it to whomever he wishes. At that moment, the decree befell Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven from mankind. He ate grass like oxen, and his body was washed by the dew of heaven, until his hair grew like eagle feathers, and his head and his nails like bird talons. At the end of the 7 period years, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes to heaven, and my senses returned to me. I blessed the Supreme One, and I praised and glorified the Eternal One, whose rule is an eternal rule, and whose kingship is for all generations. All the inhabitants of the earth are reckoned as nothing, and he acts according to his will with the hosts of heaven and the inhabitants of the earth. There is no one who can stay his hand or say to him, What have you done? At that time, my senses returned to me, and I returned to the glory of my kingdom. My appearance came back to me, and my ministers and nobles sought me. I was reestablished over my kingdom, and additional greatness was given to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, extol, and glorify the King of heaven, whose actions are all in truth, and whose paths are in justice, and who is able to humble those who walk proudly.
Belshazzar, chapter 5. Belshazzar, the king.
Hold on. We're gonna go 7 and 8 first. I'm gonna do it in this order that Divine suggested.
So read chapter 7.
Yeah, 7 and 8. Then we're gonna go back to 5.
Okay. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told some of the matters. Daniel spoke and said, I saw my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. He beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said to thus and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast had also four heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came among them another little horn, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things, almost like the beast of Revelations. And beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit on it, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands, thousand ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment set, and the books were opened. And beheld, then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spoke, I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken over, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory, and the kingdom, that all people, nations, languages should serve him. His dominion is everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was given in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of things. These great beasts which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take kingdom, and possess the kingdom forever and ever. Then would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped residue with his feet. And the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom three fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth, that spake every great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And beheld, the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus said the Lord. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. Sounds, isn't that like oh okay, I'll finish the chapter first. And the 10 horns out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the divine dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take his dominion, and consume and to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much much troubled me, and my face changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. Shall I read chapter 8?
Yeah, you wanted to say something before that?
Oh, I said it sounds like it's talking of the beast of Revelation and how like I kind of lost my train of thought actually. I think I was gonna say like it's talking about America, seems like it, like a beast.
Well, the
Uh,
beast in Revelation is actually they actually get that from Daniel, but the thing with that one is they alter it a little bit. Like they add like an extra head or something like that, or like 10 heads or something like that. But it's really from Daniel, and they the fourth kingdom is really supposed to be like the Rome. That's who's ruling right now is the Roman Catholic Church who rules the whole world, and
oh,
the Pope who sits like how you see Christianity comes from Roman Catholicism.
yes.
Islam actually started from the Roman Catholicism also, and the Pope they basically control everything. Um, and the Pope actually like people call him the Father and stuff like that. It's blasphemous. And he created something called Sunday law or something like that, where they tried to make Sunday the Sabbath. And that's where the change into the times, and that's where they come in. We're saying that we're not supposed to keep the laws of the Most High. That's what they're doing exactly right there. Where it said in Daniel, he would think to change laws and times and seasons, and that's where they also gave us that fake calendar, the Gregorian. If you look in the Ethiopian calendar, it's 7 years before us. So like they're really in 2016 right now, something like that. It's about 7 years behind. So yeah, they did all that to mess us up, not really knowing things are like just so stuff don't really add up biblically. They just it's all confusion. But yeah, just like with the Revelation, they do the same thing with the abomination of desolation. That's all that actually happened in if you read First Maccabees chapter 54 and 55, the abomination of desolation already happened like hundreds of years before the New Testament and Revelations came out. But that's one of the reasons why they took the Apocrypha out of the Bible because they want to make it to be a future event of today. But it already happened in the Greek captivity in the Maccabees.
No,
Same,
I thought they took it out because they wanted it to put it in a way that would lead up to Jesus Christ, like prophesy Jesus Christ. I never knew like
yeah,
how.
that's that too. But they also with the mark of the beast. That's in the third Maccabees. They had the mark of Dionysus, and they would force people to take this mark of Dionysus, which was a Greek god, and the people that didn't, they would kill them.
What
And
about the
not
Book
let
of Enoch?
Enoch. I don't know. I don't really. I read a little bit of it. I don't think that's the one. No book of Enoch is ever mentioned in the Tanakh. Like if you look through the Tanakh, read the whole thing, there'll be books it says like the prophet Edo, the wars, the book of the wars. There's a bunch of books mentioned that we don't have. So it mentions, it names a bunch of books that we don't have today, and it never says anything about Enoch. But it
Oh,
does
okay.
mention like countless. Like if you look up, if you do a Google search, missing books of the Old Testament, and it says, it will name. I believe there's a book. Um, what was it? I think there's some books that talk about more about Daniel too. I think that was Edo, but there's, I gotta look at my list. There's a bunch I wanted to find, but damn, what was it? But yeah, I don't know if there is a book of Enoch. I don't know if that's the one, because from what I've known, that one is dated to be pseudepigraphal, like dated to be after 100 AD or something like that. So I don't know. Um, Back then, I don't know if Enoch would have even written anything. Uh, I don't know if there is one. I don't know if that's the real one.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if you read it and it was part of the Bible.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's an important book. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
but I mean, if you want to read it, it's fine. Just I wouldn't. If anything contradicts the Tanakh, though, I wouldn't. I would. Chew the meat and spit the bones. Because you can find truth in a lot of stuff. You can find truth in Greek philosophy. You can find truth in almost all the religions and stuff. Like almost everything has a base point where they all came from, but then they just went their own way. But you can find truth in a lot of things. So I mean, there might be truth in there. At the same time, there are some things I heard about it that I read that were kind of off. So I don't take it as a canon or as the true book of Enoch, if there is one. But you know, but yeah, you can read 8 if you don't got anything else to say.
Oh, do you want me to continue?
Yeah, you can read 8.
Okay. In the third year of the reign of the king of Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Uli. And then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had two horns, and two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. And I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, and so that no beast might stand before me, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will, and became great. And as I was considering, behold, and he goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between the eyes. He came to the ram that had two horns, which had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stampled upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. And One of them came forth a little horn, which waxed great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars of the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the hosts, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down, and an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the fourth to the fourth ground, and it practiced and prospered. And then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto the certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, and the transgression of desolation, to give both sanctuary and the most to be trodden under foot? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days. Then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And it came to pass when I, even Daniel, I had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, and then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So, one second, sorry. So came near when I was where I stood, and then he came. I was afraid, and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep, on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know that shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest hath two horns, were the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Gracia, and the great horn is between his eyes, his it is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up for the nation, but not in his power. And in the later time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding, dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And the vision of the evening and the morning which it was told is true. Wherefore shut out thou vision, for it shall be for many days. And I Daniel fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. Chapter 9.
Alright, from here we're gonna go to 5. Um, King Belshazzar made a great feast for 1,000 of his nobles and drank wine before the 1,000 of his guests. While under the influence of wine, Belshazzar gave an order to bring the golden and silver vessels that Nebuchadnezzar, his grandfather, had removed from the sanctuary that was in Jerusalem for the kings and his nobles. his consorts and his concubines to drink from them. So they brought the golden vessels that they had removed from the sanctuary of the temple of Elohim in Jerusalem. And the king, his nobles, his consorts, and his concubines drank from them. They drank wine and praised the God of gold and silver, copper, iron, wood, and stone. Just then fingers of a human hand came forth and wrote on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace, facing the candelabrum. And the king saw the palm of the hand that was writing. The king's appearance thereupon changed, and his thoughts bewildered him. The belt around his waist opened, and his knees knocked one against the other. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldean stargazers, and the demonists. The king exclaimed to the sages of Babylonia that any person who would read this writing and tell its interpretation would wear royal purple with a chain of gold on his neck, and would rule 1/3 of the kingdom. Then all the king's sages came in, but they could not read the writing and make its interpretation known to the king. Then King Belshazzar was greatly bewildered, and his appearance changed upon him, and his nobles said, "May the king live forever. Do not be bewildered, nor let your appearance be changed. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy Elohim. And in your grandfather's days, brilliance, understanding, and wisdom, like the wisdom of Elohim, were found in him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, your grandfather, made him chief of the necromancers, astrologers, Chaldean stargazers, and demonists. Since extraordinary spirit, intelligence, understanding, interpreting of dreams, solving of riddles, and resolving of difficulties have been found in Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar, let Daniel now be called, and he will relate the interpretation." Then Daniel was brought before the king. The king spoke up and said to Daniel, "You are Daniel from among the people of the exiled Judah, whom the king, my grandfather, brought from Judah. I have heard about you that the spirit of Elohim is in you, and that brilliance, understanding, and extraordinary wisdom are found in you. The sages, the astrologers, were now brought before me to read his writing and make its interpretation known to me, but they could not tell the interpretation of the matter. But I have heard about you that you are able to provide interpretations and to resolve difficulties. Now, if you will be able to read the writing and make its interpretation known to me, you will wear royal purple with a chain of gold on your neck, and you will rule 1/3 of the kingdom." Daniel then replied and said before the king, "Let your gifts remain yours, and give your rewards to others. But I will read the writing for the king and make its interpretation known to him. You, O king, the supreme Elohim, gave kingship, greatness, honor, and majesty to Nebuchadnezzar, your grandfather. And because of the greatness that he gave him, all the peoples, nations, and languages used to tremble and be frightened before him. Whomever he wished he would kill, and whomever he wished he would keep alive. Whomever he wished he would raise up, and whomever he wished he would put down. But when his heart grew proud and his spirit was hardened to rebel, he was deposed from his royal throne, and honor was taken from him. He was driven from mankind, and his heart was made like a beast. His dwelling was with wild asses, and they fed him grass like oxen. And his body was washed with the dew of heaven, until he recognized that the supreme Elohim rules over the kingdom of man, and that whomever he wishes, he appoints over it. But you, his grandson Belshazzar, did not humble your heart, although you knew all this. You exalted yourself against the Adonai of heaven, and the vessels of his house were brought before you, and you, your nobles, your consorts, and your concubines drank wine from them. And you praised the gods of silver and gold, copper, iron, wood, and stone, which do not see nor hear nor know, but the Elohim in whose hand is your soul, and to whom all your ways belong, you did not glorify. Thus the palm of a hand was sent from before him, and it inscribed this writing. This is the writing that was inscribed. Mene mene tekel upharsin. This is the interpretation of the matter. Mene counted. Elohim has counted the years of your kingship and terminated it. Tekel, weighed. You have been weighed in the scales and found wanting. Perez, broken up. Your kingdom has been broken and given to Media and Persia. Then Belshazzar gave the command, and they clothed Daniel in royal purple with a chain of gold on his neck. And they proclaimed about him that he would rule 1/3 of the kingdom. That very night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was slain. Then from here, where's 6 at? I'm gonna read 6 next. I'm trying to see if this is the right order. Well, I'm gonna just go to 6. Shalom, face. Then Darius the Mede received the kingship at the age of 62 years. It pleased Darius to appoint over the kingdom 120 satraps to be throughout the kingdom, and over them 3 viziers, of whom Daniel was one, to whom these satraps would give advice, so that the king should suffer no harm. Then this Daniel oversaw the viziers and satraps because of the extraordinary spirit in him, and the king thought to appoint him over the whole kingdom. Thereupon the viziers and the satraps tried to find a libel against Daniel with regard to the kingdom, but they could find neither fault nor corruption, because he was faithful, and nor could error or corruption be found in him. Then these men said, "We will not find any fault with this Daniel, unless we find it in him through the law of his Elohim." Thereupon these viziers and satraps assembled about the king, and said thus to him, "May King Darius live forever. All the viziers of the kingdom, the nobles and the satraps, the advisors and the governors have conferred to affirm the king's law, and to strengthen his prohibition, that whoever will make a request of any god or man for 30 days, other than of you, O king, shall be thrown into the lion's pit. Now, O king, approve the prohibition and inscribe the writing, so that it cannot be abrogated, according to the law of Media and Persia, which shall never lapse." As a result of this, King Darius inscribed the writing and the prohibition. When Daniel learned that the writing had been inscribed, he went home. He had windows open in his upper story, facing Jerusalem. And 3 times a day he fell to his knees and prayed and gave thanks before his Elohim, exactly as he used to before this. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and supplicating before his Elohim. Well, that sounds like me. I don't give a damn what y'all talking about. So they approached and spoke before the king concerning the king's prohibition. Did you not inscribe a prohibition that any person who will make a request of any god or person for 30 days, other than of you, O king, will be thrown into the lion's pit? The king replied and said, "The matter is true, according to the law of Media and Persia, which shall never lapse." Then they exclaimed and said before the king, that Daniel, who is one of the people of the exile of Judah, had not paid attention to you, O king, and to the prohibition that you have inscribed. 3 times a day he prays his prayer. Then the king, when he heard this statement, was deeply grieved, and he set his heart on Daniel to save him. Until sundown he strove to rescue him. Then these men assembled around the king and said to the king, "Know, O king, that the law of Media and Persia is that any prohibition or statute that the king establishes cannot be altered." Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's pit. The king exclaimed to Daniel, "May your Elohim, who you serve, continually save you." A stone was brought and placed over the opening of the pit, and the king sealed it with his signet ring and with the signet rings of his nobles, so that his will regarding Daniel could not be changed. Then the king went to his palace and went to bed fasting, and had no table brought before him, and his sleep wandered from him. The king arose in the darkness before dawn and went in haste to the lion's pit. When he drew near to the pit, to Daniel, he cried out in a sad voice. The king called out and said to Daniel, "Daniel, servant of the living Elohim, was your Elohim, whom you serve, continually able to save you from the lions?" Then Daniel spoke to the king, "May the king live forever. My Elohim sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths, and they did not wound me, because merit was found for me before him. Also before you, O king, I have done no harm." Then the king was very pleased, and he commanded that Daniel be brought up from the pit. Daniel was brought up from the pit, and no wound was found on him, for he had trusted in his Elohim. The king gave the command and brought those men who had slandered Daniel, and they threw him into the lion's pit, them, their children, and their wives. They had not reached the floor of the pit when the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius wrote To all the peoples, nations, and languages who dwell in the entire earth, may your peace be abundant. An order is hereby issued by me that in all the dominion of my kingdom, people shall tremble and be in fear before the Elohim of Daniel, who is the living Elohim and endures forever, whose kingdom will not be destroyed and whose dominion is until the end, who saves and rescues and performs signs and wonders in heaven and on earth, who has saved Daniel from the clutches of the lions. This Daniel met with success in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Boy, I'm playing about the Most High, man. All right, so from this, I think we're supposed to jump to 10, 12, 9, and then 11. I think that's the order that Devanya gave. All right, chapter 10. In the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a matter was revealed to Daniel, who was named Belteshazzar. The matter was true, but for a long time off, to understand the matter and to explain it to him through a vision. In those days, I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 weeks or days. I ate no desirable bread, meat or wine did not enter my mouth, and I did not anoint myself until the completion of 3 weeks of days. Then on the 24th day of the first month, I was next to the great river, which is a Hiddekel. I raised my eyes and saw, behold, one man clothed in linen, his loins girded with fine gold. His body was like Tarshish, his face like the appearance of lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, and his arms and legs like the color of burnished copper. The sound of his words, loud as the sound of a multitude. I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. The people who were with me did not see the vision. But a great fear fell upon them, and they fled into hiding. So I remained alone. I saw this great vision. No strength remained in me. My robustness changed to pallor, and I could retain no strength. I heard the sound of his words. And when I heard the sound of his words, I was in a deep sleep upon my face, with my face towards the ground. Behold, a hand touched me and moved me onto my knees and the palms of my hands. He said to me, Daniel, greatly beloved man, understand the words that I speak to you, and stand in your place, for I have been sent to you now. As he spoke these words to me, I stood a tremble. He said to me, do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to fast before your Elohim, your words have been heard, and I have come because of your words. But the heavenly prince of the Persian kingdom stood opposed to me for 21 days, until Michael, one of the foremost heavenly princes, came to help me. For I have remained there alone beside the kings of Persia. I have come to make you understand what will befall your people in the end of days, for there is yet a vision for those days. As he spoke these words to me, I set my face toward the ground and was dumbfounded. Then behold, one with the likeness of a human being touched my lips. I opened my mouth and spoke, and I said to the one standing opposite me, my Lord, during the vision my joints shuddered, and I could retain no strength. How can this servant of my Lord speak with this Lord of mine? From now on, no strength will remain in me, and there is no breath left in me. Then he, the likeness of a human being, touched me again and strengthened me. He said, fear not, greatly beloved man. Peace to you, grow stronger and stronger. As he spoke to me, I strengthened myself, and I said, speak, my Lord, for you have strengthened me. He said, do you know why I came to you? Now I will return to do battle with the heavenly prince of Persia. Then I will depart. But behold, the heavenly prince of Greece approaches. However, I will tell you what is inscribed in truthful writing. No one reinforces me against these except your heavenly prince, Michael. And I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, stood up as a support and stronghold for him. Now I will tell you the truth. Behold, 3 more kings will arise for Persia. The fourth will acquire the greatest wealth of them all. And when he grows strong with his riches, he will arouse all of his kingdom against the kingdom of Greece. A mighty king will then arise. He will rule with great domination, and he will do as he pleases. But after he has arisen, his kingdom will be broken and will be divided into the 4 directions of the heaven, but not to his posterity, nor will it be like his dominion with which he ruled. For his kingdom will be uprooted, and for others besides these. The king of the south will grow stronger than his enemy and his nobles, and he will overpower him and rule. His dominion will be a great dominion. At the end of many years, they will join together, and the daughter of the king of the south will come to the king of the north to establish uprightness. But she will not restrain the power of the strong arm, nor will the king nor his arm withstand. So she and those who brought her will be surrendered, as well as the one who fathered her and he who supported her in times of need. A scion from her roots will stand firmly on his foundation. He will confront the army and enter the stronghold of the king of the north. He will succeed against them and overpower. Also, he will bring their gods and their princes with their precious vessels of silver and gold in captivity to Egypt. And he will stand secure for years against the king of the north. He will enter the kingdom of the king of the south, but he will return to his soil. Then the northern king's sons will stir themselves up and gather a multitude of great armies. He will then launch an attack, inundate, and pass through. Then he will once again stir himself up, right up to the south stronghold. The king of the south will become embittered and go out and battle with him, with the king of the north, and he will raise a great multitude, but that multitude will be delivered into the south's hand. Then the multitude will feel uplifted and their hearts will be proud. But although they will cut down myriads of their enemies, they will not prevail. The king of the north will once again raise a multitude greater than the first. At the end of the times, several years, he will launch an attack with a great army and with vast resources. In those times, many will rise up against the king of the south, and sons of the lawless men of your people will exalt themselves to establish a vision, but they will stumble. The king of the north will come and pour out a mound and conquer a fortified city. The arms of the south will not hold out. His chosen warriors will have no strength to withstand it. The invader will then do to the southern king as he pleases, and none will stand in his way. He will also stand in the coveted land with annihilation in his hand. He will set his face to penetrate the strength of the southern king's whole kingdom, and the upright ones who are with him, and he will succeed. He will give over him to the daughter. He will give over to him the daughter among women to destroy her, but it will not succeed, and she will not be his. Then he will turn his attention toward ours, and he will conquer many. But the commander will cause his insolence to cease. For his insolence alone, he will punish him. Then he will direct himself toward the strongholds of his homeland, and he will stumble and fall and not be found. There will arise in his place one whose glory of kingship is the overthrow of the oppressor. Yet through a few years it will be broken, but neither through the enemy's wrath nor through war. Then in its place will stand a contemptible one, upon whom they did not confer the glory of kingship. He will come in peace, attaining kingship through treachery. The powers that had swept away others will themselves be swept away before him and will be broken, as well as the prince of the covenant. Through alliance with him, he will act with deceit, and he will come up and gain power with a small nation. He will come in peace into the richest parts of the province. He will come, and he will do what his fathers and forefathers did not do. Among his allies, he will distribute booty, spoils, and wealth, and he will devise his plans against their fortresses until the time. He will stir up his strength and his heart against the king of the south with a great army. The king of the south will confront him in war with an exceedingly great and powerful army, but he will not withstand, for they will devise plans against him. For those who eat of his food will break him. He will then sweep away his army, and many slain will fall. As for the 2 kings, their hearts will be to do harm. At one table they will conspire deceitfully, but it will not succeed, for there is yet an end for the appointed time. He will return to his land with great wealth. With his heart opposed to the holy covenant, having succeeded, he will return to his land. At a set time, he will come once again to the south, but he will not be as successful as the first time, nor as the last time. Ships of Kittim will come against the south, and he will be weakened. He will then return. Then he will be upset at the holy covenant and act accordingly. Then he will return and contemplate those who have forsaken the covenant of sanctity. Arms will arise from him and will profane the fortified sanctuary. They will abolish the daily offering and will install the mute abomination. He will glibly flatter those who corrupt the covenant. But the people who recognize their Elohim will persevere and accomplish. Wise men among the people will give understanding to their multitudes. They will stumble by the sword and by flame, through captivity and through plunder for years. But when they stumble, they will be helped with a little help. For many will come to their aid through glibness. Some of the wise men will stumble in clarifying these words, and elucidating and interpreting when the time of the end will be, for it is not yet the designated time. The king will do as he pleases, and he will glorify and exalt himself over every god, and he will utter fantastic things against the Elohim of the mighty one, the mighty. Yet he will succeed until Elohim's fury is terminated, for that which was decreed will have been executed. He will not give consideration to the Elohim of Yasharal's ancestors, nor to the desirable among women, nor will he give consideration to any god, for he will aggrandize himself above everything. But he will honor the God of the fortresses when in his place, and he will honor a God whom his ancestors did not know, with gold, with silver, with precious stones, and with desirable objects, and he will build strong fortresses in honor of a strange God. He will accord great honor to whomever he acknowledges. He will empower them over the multitudes, and he will apportion land at a price. Then at the time of the end, the king of the south will clash with him, and the king of the north will storm against him with chariot, horsemen, and many ships. He will invade countries, flood them, and pass through. Then he will invade the coveted land. Many will stumble, but these will be saved from his hand: Edom, Moab, and the choicest parts of the children of Ammon. He will stretch forth his hand against lands, and the land of Egypt will not be a survivor. He will gain control of the caches of gold and silver and all the desirables of Egypt, with Libyans and Cushites crushed in his footsteps. But news from the east and the north will alarm him, and he will set out in great anger to destroy and annihilate many. He will pitch the tents of his palace between the seas and the holy coveted mountain. There he will come to his end, and none will help him. At that time, Michael will stand, the great heavenly prince, who stands in support of the members of your people. And there will be a time of trouble such as there has never been since there was a nation until that time. But at that time, your people will escape. Everything that is found written in this book will occur. Many of those, hold up, am I supposed to go ahead? Yeah. Many of those who sleep in the dusty earth will awaken, these for everlasting life, and these for shame, for everlasting abhorrence. The wise will shine like the radiance of the firmament, and those who teach righteousness to the multitudes will shine like the stars forever and ever. As for you, Daniel, obscure the matters and seal the book until the time of the end. Let many muse and let knowledge increase. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, two others are standing, one on this side of the river bank and one on that side of the river bank. One said to the man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, how long until the concealed end? I heard the man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, as he lifted his right hand and his left hand to the heavens, and swore by the life source of the world, that after a periods and a half, upon the completion of the fragmenting of the hand of the holy people, all these will be finished. I heard this, but I did not comprehend it. So I said, my Lord, what is the end of these matters? He said, go, Daniel, for the matters are obscure and sealed until the time of the end. They will be elucidated and clarified and refined by many people. The wicked will act wickedly, and none of the wicked will understand, but the wise will understand. from the time the daily offering was removed and the mute abomination put in place, 1,290 years. Praiseworthy is he who awaits and reaches 1,335 years. As for you, go to your end. You will rest, then arise for your portion at the end of days. And I think I skipped 9. Well, the order that I got from Divania. I think it says 9 is last. I don't know. Maybe I wrote it down wrong, but I'm gonna just go ahead with 9. In the first year, chapter 9. In the first year of Darius, son of Ahasuerus, of the offspring of Media, who was made king over the kingdom of Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, contemplated the calculations, the number of years about which the word of Yah had come to the prophet Jeremiah, to complete the 70 years since the ruin of Jerusalem. I set my face toward Adonai Yahweh Elohim to beseech with prayer and supplication, with fasting, sackcloth, and ashes. I prayed to Yahweh my Elohim, and I confessed. I said, I beg of you, O Adonai, the great and awesome Elohim, who keeps the covenant and kindness for those who love him and for those who keep his commandments. We have sinned. We have been iniquitous. We have done evil. We have rebelled, and we have deviated from your commandments and your ordinances. We did not heed your servants, the prophets, who spoke in your name to our kings, our officers, and our forefathers, and to all the populace of the land. To you, O Adonai, is the righteousness, and to us is the shamefacedness, as of this very day, to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to all of Yasharal, those near and those far, in all the lands to which you have driven them, because of their betrayal by which they betrayed you. Yahweh, to us is the shamefacedness, to our kings, and to our officers, and to our forefathers, for we have sinned against you. To Adonai our Elohim belong compassion and forgiveness, for we have rebelled against him, and we did not heed the voice of Yahweh our Elohim to follow his teachings, which he put before us through the hand of his servants, the prophets. All Yasharal has transgressed your Torah and has deviated, not heeding your voice. So the curse and the oath that are written in the Torah of Moses, servant of Elohim, have been poured out upon us, for we have sinned against him. He upheld his word that he spoke about us and about our judges who judged us, to bring upon us a great calamity. For under the entire heaven there has never been done as has been done in Jerusalem. Just as it is written in the Torah of Moses, all this calamity has come upon us. Yet we have not entreated the countenance of Yahweh our Elohim, to repent from our iniquities and to comprehend your truth. Yahweh hastened the calamity and brought it upon us. For Yahweh our Elohim is just in all his deeds that he has done. For we have not heeded his voice. And now, Adonai our Elohim, who took your people out of the land of Egypt with a strong hand, and gained yourself renown as of this day, we have sinned and we have been wicked. O Adonai, in keeping with all your righteousness, please let your anger and your wrath turn away from your city, Jerusalem, your holy mountain. For because of our sins and the iniquities of our forefathers, Jerusalem and your people have become the scorn of all those around us. And now pay heed, our Elohim, to the prayer of your servant and to his supplications, and let your countenance shine upon your desolate sanctuary, for Adonai's sake. Incline your ear, my Elohim, and listen. Open your eyes and see our desolations, and the city upon which your name is proclaimed. For not because of our righteousness do we pour out our supplications before you, but because of your great compassion. O Adonai, heed. O Adonai, forgive. O Adonai, be attentive and act. Do not delay. For your sake, my Elohim, for your name is proclaimed upon your city and your people. I was still speaking, praying, and confessing my sin and the sin of my people, Yasharal, and pouring out my supplication before Yahweh, my Elohim, for my Elohim's holy mountain. I was still speaking in prayer when the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the earlier vision, was lifted in flight approaching me at about the time of the afternoon offer. He made me understand and spoke with me. He said, Daniel, I have gone forth now to teach you understanding. At the beginning of your supplications, a word went forth, and I have come to relate it. For you are beloved. Contemplate this matter and gain understanding in the vision. 70 scepters have been decreed upon your people and upon your holy city to terminate transgression, to end sin, to wipe away iniquity, to bring everlasting righteousness, to confirm the visions and prophets, and to anoint the Holy of Holies. Know and comprehend from the emergence of the word to return and to build Jerusalem until the anointment, my bad, until the anointment of the prince will be seven scepters. And for 62 scepters it will be rebuilt, street and moat, but in troubled times. Then after the 62 scepters, the anointed one will be cut off and will exist no longer. The people of the prince will come, will destroy the city and the sanctuary, but his end will be to be swept away as in a flood. Then until the end of the war, desolation is decreed. He will forge a strong covenant with the great ones for one scepter. But for half of that scepter, he will abolish sacrifice and meal offering, and the mute abominations will be upon soaring heights, until extermination as decreed will pour down upon the mute abomination. All right, y'all, that's the end of it. I think I did that right. Shalom, Devanya. Shalom, Stan. Hey, yeah, I read Daniel. I wrote down Devanya when you said the correct order of Daniel a while back. I don't know if I wrote it down right, but I tried to read it. I did 1 to 4, then I went 7 and 8, 5 and 6, 10, 12, 9. Oh, was it 10, 11, 12, and 9? I don't know if I did it right, but I tried to. That's what I had written down. I probably did it wrong, but the timeline was definitely more cohesive than reading it front to back of Daniel. Shalom.
Shalom, brother. It's been a while. It's been a while. Forgive me for not being there a lot of times, the appointed times of your readings, but a lot has been going on. But praises to Yah that you continue these readings, whether there's one person that shows up or 100. You know, uh, I praise Yah that He continues to have the Spirit on you to do these readings. And I was actually just came in here to listen because now I have the time. And um, you mentioned the name of the order, so that's why I came in, because you when you you mentioned my name and spoke the order, so I feel I have to respond to you. So I'm here, hopefully humbly trying to respond to what you said. Yeah. So can you go elaborate more on that? You're saying now the order makes more sense to you now when you read it in order.
Yeah, I don't know if I did it 100% right in order, the order that you said, but it did. It was more cohesive because I noticed at a certain point it talks about Nebuchadnezzar's grandchild, his grandson. So had we read it from 1 to 12, it would have had his grandson first, and then but still been talking about him when he was in power. So it made more sense doing it the way I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I did it 100% right, but it still was more cohesive and made more sense. And chronologically, you're muted if you're saying something.
Oh, sorry, I was actually, yes, thank you. So I remember, I'm gonna try and go to it now, but it's the order. It's in my head, but sometimes it's not. Again, so he said, I think I remember 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then I think I remember saying we can't read 5 because in 5, uh, Belshazzar, who is technically the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar the second, right? He's known also as Nabonidus in history. Same characters, and Belshazzar, even in history, contemporary history tells you Belshazzar was like the last ruler of the as far as the Babylonians of their kinship in this land. So after you read, you finish with 4, it's all of Nebuchadnezzar, and now we have his son takes over, and but it's his son Belshazzar, right? His grandson technically, but his son, his lineage. He takes over, but when you read chapter 5 ends with Belshazzar dying, and then it mentions the last verse mentions Darius the king, and it mentions Darius and Cyrus, both Darius and Cyrus. So we have to say, okay, Belshazzar dies here. But if we're going to read 6, then that's not going to blend in, because when we get to chapter 7, it says in the first year, I believe, let me go there right now before, I don't want to misspoke. Yeah, it says in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon. So if we know chapter 5 ends with Belshazzar dying, that chapter we know is out of order. And it tells you why they put him out, why they're out of order, right? Why it was done like that. But so when we finish with chapter 4, his grandfather Nebuchadnezzar, we should go to chapter 7 and read in the first year of Belshazzar, and we continue reading. When we go to chapter 8, it says in the third year of Belshazzar. We can continue reading all of that. And apart from that, the only other chapter that speaks about Belshazzar is chapter 5, and that's where he dies, right? So we have Belshazzar died, and who takes over when that kingdom, because the writing on the wall was your kingdom was going to be split, right? But during that time, we had Cyrus. If we read Ezra, we read Nehemiah, I believe Haggai also, Zephaniah. These chapters, when you read them, they talk about the first year. Now you're getting into the Cyrus. So we know Cyrus, the end of the 70th year, Cyrus comes in. So once we finish with, we will go from 1, 2, 3, 4. We read 7, we read 8, then we read 5. That's when Belshazzar died. But who is the reigning king between the Persians and the Mede at this time? Cyrus. Cyrus comes before, right? Cyrus, because we know Darius had to go back and check the writings of Cyrus to see what decree Cyrus left for us. And Darius went, and yep, King Cyrus left a decree, and we have to uphold to it. So we know now, once we finish with Daniel chapter 5, we should go straight to what? Daniel chapter 10, because it starts off with in the third year of Cyrus. Now, if we want to know what's going on in the first year of Cyrus and in the second year of Cyrus, we can go and read Ezra. We can go and read Haggai. We can go and read Zephaniah. We can go and read Nehemiah. These chapters talks about the first year of Cyrus, the second year of Cyrus. But right now we're dealing with it from Daniel's perspective, from his point of view, his writing. And all these other people, they have their writings. They there. The book of Nehemiah, the book of Ezra. They have their writings, but we're seeing it through the eyes of Daniel here. So for Daniel in the third year of Cyrus, so we can read all of that. But here's the problem, reading it in order. Because after that, what does chapter 11 comes out with? Darius. But no, we can't, because we're not finished with Cyrus. When we reach chapter 10 of Daniel, we read all the way down. It starts talking with the last verse in Daniel chapter 10 reads, But I will show thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth. And there is none that holdeth with me in these things but Michael your prince. Now let's stop there. If we go to Daniel chapter 11, the story does not make sense. But if we go from there and go to chapter 12, guess what it says? And at that time shall Michael stand up with the great prince, which standeth for the children of the people. And there shall be a time of trouble. You understand what I'm saying? It continues because we're talking about during the time of who? Cyrus. So we have to go from now, chapter 10 to chapter 12. Now we're finished with Cyrus. Once we're finished with Cyrus, now we can go and start dealing with who? Darius. Now we go to uh chapter 9, and it says, in the first year of Darius, again, the son of Ahasuerus. This is the same guy, for those of you who read the book of Esther, the king that Esther married. This is Darius' father. This is Darius' father. And Darius is a Japhite of the Medes. He is a Japhite. You go to the book of Chronicles, you go to Genesis, it tells you that the sons of Japhet. So this is where you get your Greek nation comes from. It even tells you that in scripture. The Medes, they're Greeks. They're the Greeks. So we know one of the seed of Japhite, the European nation, we know one of them, scripture tells you, they're identified as the Greeks, right? The European nation. So that's his father. So when we read Daniel now, it starts out with the first year of Darius. After we finish reading uh, uh, Daniel chapter 9, then we should be reading Daniel chapter 11. Because now it says, also in the first year of Darius the Mede. So we continue that story from there. So now we went to 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 5, 3, 4, 7, 8, 5. Then we went to 9, 11. Right. So now when we finish with Darius chapter 11, where do we go from here? We go to chapter 6, Daniel chapter 6. Because you're saying, it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes. We should go on, and then we can see the elevation of Daniel being elevated here. And so it ends off, Daniel chapter 6 ends off, said, so this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. So that Daniel not only served under Nebuchadnezzar, he served under the Persians and Medes when they dismantled Belshazzar. So he served under these multiple, and Yah was always with him, made him wiser than all the seers and soothsayers of the East. So now, so that was 6. Did we miss out anything? We just, I think, did we cover all the verses?
Yeah, 1 through 4, 7 and 8, 5, 10, 12, 9, 11, and 6.
12. So that's the 12 verses, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Con. Is that the order that you have?
For the most part, I think I did. I ended with 9 last somehow, but for the most part, it was. I knew at some point I was like, yeah, I messed up something, but for the most part, it was cohesive and better chronologically. It made more sense. So maybe next time get it right. I got it written down now in the right order.
Con, praise ya, praise you. And hopefully for those who are trying to tie in the New Testament, it helps. Again, putting things in order. Yah is a person of order, and this book is not supposed to, hey, you read it and you get it. No, you got to seek and search, and that's what it's all about. And again, I'm still learning. I'm learning from you guys. Haven't been able to speak much of late, but I do listen when I get the chance, and I take notes, and you guys, you send me on missions where I'm continuously learning myself. So yeah, really appreciate. Uh, it's good to know that there are people who are listening, and when you take it upon yourself, that journey yourself and seek, then you confirm it within your soul with the words, and it's not like, hey, because Sister Devanya said so, or hey, Sage, I see she in here listening, but all of you, those who are listening, it's not because we said so. It's like, hey, we have to check each other. Let's go back and see what the scripture say. And you study it diligently, and it's like, okay, all right, all right. It's like, okay, one more step upwards the ladder in understanding and seeking. So bless you, brother, and bless all everyone in the room listening and reading.
Yeah, definitely. I know. Yes, I know there's stuff going on, but definitely missed your presence in the readings rooms. Always had like I got a bunch of notes from stuff you said, and like the Hebrew and like certain gems you were throwing there that made me think about stuff I never looked at in a certain way before. And yeah, definitely gonna need you in the second round when we go through it on books again. Um, yeah, pray the Most High get you through whatever you had going on, though, and find peace. Um,
I
yeah,
thank that. It's part of what, you know. It's what if I wasn't going through things like, well, I'm sure we all going through things, but if I wasn't going through things and everything was lottie dotty, then I would be saying I'm not Israel. I'm not, I'm not suffering. I'm not going out there and seeing my people suffer. So it keeps me humble that, hey, yes, I'm going through, even though, hey, it may seem like things are right, and oh, you got this and you got this, and no. People sometimes we judge each other like, hey, you got a good job, you got this, and you got no, but there's so much more to life than that. That, the empathy, the emotion, people going through things, and just trying to be there. And sometimes there's so many people going through there, and you wish you can be there for everybody at the same time, but now it's like scheduling, and then you start to feel guilt because you can't be there for everyone at the same time. And it's like, it gets to be overwhelming, but it's like, hey, you learn strength and everything from it. So for me, it's I look at the hardship that I go through now. I take them now as like blessings. It might sound weird, but I see them now. They help me grow, and they help me sit more and analyze things better, and what's the best thing. And maybe, this person, there's another person that I have who are better in this subject that I am, that I can introduce. So I have been introducing other people to other people who I know, hey, they can express this thing better. They can answer this question better. So I've been doing a lot of that interconnection, phone wise, having other people. So for me, it's like it reminds me of the scripture when it's like, hey, you get the elders, get 70 elders, because Moshe, you can't do this by yourself. His father Jethro said, you can't do this by yourself. Get 70 elders. It happened to be, yeah, law. Even Yah said, yeah, yep, I confirm. You do that because it gets overwhelming to be there sometimes. So that's what I'm learning to do now. Hey, you can't take on a lot of the people's, problems, and it may be people close to you, uh, or it may be, people you just met, but then you gravitated, you have a connection with them, and it's like you can't take on too much. Now you know somebody who can answer that. This person has a question, they're dealing with this. I know somebody who's better dealing with this, who went through this, and their spirits are like similar. I can blend and hit connect. And lately, it's like I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe, this person is so beautiful and blah blah blah, blah, blah. So it's like I'm seeing the goodness out of it, and but I thank you so much for your well wishes. I thank you, but it's not at the point. It's not overwhelming where I'm feeling sorry for myself. It got overwhelming where I just wanted to be there for everybody. But I'm learning now. Yeah, it's showing me how to dish out things that I can't handle all on my own. Just dish them out. You know other people who are. beautiful in spirit and soul, that are willing to like talk to this person, and they may do a better job than myself. So yeah, I'm at that. So, but thank you again, you and everyone else. Sage, I know she's been out there. The ones out there, they have been praying, and I'm constantly letting my brother know that yeah, there are Israel, because his thing is, I don't want anybody else but people who believe in Yah praying for me. I don't want no Christians. He told my mother, please. She's like, I'm gonna have the church pray for you. He's like, Mom, please don't. My 4-year-old is like, yo, may Yah bless his. So he's like, Mom, please, I love you, but don't do that, please, because I don't know your God, then please. He said, thank you very much, but I have Israelites. I have people who believe in Yah. They're praying for me. Please don't have your people praying for me. Yeah, so, it's like we get to laugh and joke. But yeah, again, long way of saying thank you, so for your well wishes. And I will be trying to be here uh, as much as I can, when I can, chime in. And if you have any questions, just shoot me a text. Shoot me something in the back chat or a text, and I'll definitely send you the verses where you can continue your search and seek for yourself. I yield.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Those trials, like I say, you can't make diamond without pressure. You can't refine gold or silver without the fire. And all those trials, they're meant to test your faith. They're meant to test, if you're gonna trust Him and make you stronger. And see how you come out like gold. So we gotta be grateful for even the bad stuff we go through, because we come out of it stronger, and we can be an example to others. And if they go through something similar, you can be like, yeah, you can get through it. And I got through it. This is how I got through it. So, and then people will see the difference. They'll see the difference in the ones that truly trust in the Most High, and that truly walk in His ways. Because even if you're righteous, you're gonna go through something. You have to, because what Solomon say, give me nor riches nor poverty. Because what I'm saying, he don't want to be too poor that he goes and steals, but he don't want to be too rich where he's like, oh, I don't need you. I don't need the Most High. I got everything. So everybody needs some kind of something to humble them, something to let them know, you're still, no matter how righteous you are, you're still flesh. You're still not the Most High, and you still need Him. So though he'll give you them trials, test you and all that. So yeah, I got my own little trial I'm going through currently also, and I know I might have more. I already know it's
You know the
them demons on attack mode, but
you know what the beauty is? All this Yah's foresee. That's why he tells us, gird yourself. What he tell the men them? Gird yourself. This is a battle. And what I don't like about the Christianity aspect of it, because they put it into where it's like a spiritual battle, like these invisible demons are coming and making you think things and do things. No, because it takes the responsibility off of every individual. That's why Yah says the spirits I've been warning you about are the people around you. They have dark spirits. You have some that have good spirits. It's like the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. People with good spirits. And then you have those, yeah, they got good intentions, good and evil. The family, those of good and evil. Because the last time I checked, we know trees don't talk, right? How many trees you know are evil? How many trees we know planted in the ground are plotting our ruin, to plotting against us? Really? There are physical trees out there plotting to ruin us? Come on. What was the family tree I was talking about? So it's just like, again, getting back to basics. We're the children of the mist. Yeah, it says in Genesis, a mist came up from the ground and watered them. And he used what? It's like, hey, softening up. We can picture it like clay, but he wasn't the first man. It's a metaphor for taking a person from their lowest state and forming them, giving them the breath of life, breathing the breath of life, which are the laws, into them. And many of us have came from that place, from the dust, like Adam, like Job, like some of our forefathers, from the dust. And he what? He formed us. He's shaping us. Every day as we're seeking his words, he's what? He's forming us. He's shaping us. And from what? The mist of the ground it started. Guess what the Hebrew word for mist is? Ad. When you pluralize it, when you put the M at the end, you know what it means? They of the mist. Those of the mist. So the word Adam packs so many meaning. It also means I will bleed. Talking about the children of Egypt. We're bleeding till this day. Hands up, don't shoot. Bleeding till this day. It's futuristic. When you put the wav in the word Adam, that's how you get Edom, 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 Edom. Yes, he's doom, all right. That's how you get Edom. The wav, what does it do? Adds a stake and it turns it into a people. A people. What it means? A bloody people. And what does it say about Esau? What does it say about that nation? Bloody. Hunters. They eat raw meats. All of the characteristics. That's why his name is Edom. He went from a, 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 a people who will bleed. So we are the people who will bleed. He is the person, or they are the people who will do the bleeding. That's the beauty of the Hebraic language. Every word is tied in, and they're tagged to people. They're tagged to nations. But yeah, sorry, I can go on, and I haven't been talking much lately. But I have to tell myself, pause. I'll pause.
No, no, it's all good. I do, however, I have to charge my phone. My thing's on, was it 12%? I gotta go eat too. So I'm gonna close this one down. I might jump back on a little bit and do a little congregating. But yeah, shalom. Bless
Shalom. Thanks
y'all.
for shalom to everybody.
May
And
Most High strengthen you for all your trials.
And
And
to you,
yeah,
brother,
y'all.
and to you. May Yah put a cocoon, may He shelter you, kafad, put a kafad over you and your household and your loved ones continuously. And maybe we'll see each other in another room later on.
Yeah, it's already done. It's already done. I have no fear. Um, but yeah, maybe I'll see y'all later tonight. If not, then we gonna finish up. What's it? We have Nehemiah and Ezra, I think, tomorrow. Then we get through these chronicles, and then the reading's complete. And then I think Menelek and Zaya, I think they're gonna start their own Torah reading or whatever, however we're gonna do it. We're gonna start all over again, go through it again. And yeah, let's get it. But yeah, I'm gonna go eat. Try to let my phone charge, and yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna probably jump on. I don't know though, but yeah, I'll see y'all later.